From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy. Iran's supreme leader is threatening to retaliate against Israel and the United States for the attacks on Iranian sites late October. Iranian officials say their enemies will receive a crushing response for what they are doing to Iran and the Iranian nation, whether they be Zionists or the United States of America. There was no word on the timing or scope of the attack. Canadian small businesses are sounding the alarm about a potential labor disruption at BC ports. The employers say they'll lock staff out on Monday after the union for about 700 foremen issued a strike notice. Canadian Chamber of Commerce Executive Vice President Matthew Holmes says it's tremendously concerning after another disruption in the last 12 to 18 months. He points to things like August's work stoppage at both major Canadian railways and a port worker strike last year, undermining confidence in Canada's supply chains. One of BC's largest Sikh temples is bracing for a major protest outside an annual event for seniors. The temple hosts Indian consular officials to help with seniors getting their administrative tasks done, such as pension paperwork. But temple leaders expect significant confrontations between protesters and Indian consular staff. The federal government has accused Indian officials of being involved in criminal activity on Canadian soil, including the murder of a BC Sikh activist. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump hosted dueling rallies within kilometers of each other in a fervid final push for votes in the swing state of Wisconsin. At a high school in central Wisconsin, Harris outlined how her administration would differ from a Trump White House.
I will listen to experts. I will listen to the people who disagree with me. Because you see, unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe that people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at the table.
Harris is expected to campaign in North Carolina and Georgia today, while making multiple stops in Michigan tomorrow. Basketball Hall of Famer Vince Carter will have his jersey retired by the Toronto Raptors in a pre-game ceremony. Denver Nuggets guard Jamal Murray of Kitchener, Ontario, says Carter had a huge impact on him growing up.
I always talk about Vince. He was my inspiration for playing basketball. I obviously had my own love for the game, but he took it to another level, and he showed me what the game could be, for an individual, and be able to show that throughout the game and throughout his character.
Carter will become the first player in Raptors history to have his jersey retired. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, Blake Coleman scored twice as the Calgary Flames snapped a losing streak and won 3-0 over the New Jersey Devils. The other came from Jonathan Huberdeau, who scored just 28 seconds after Coleman and broke a scoreless tie in the third period. The NHLPA is forming an advisory committee to help hockey players better understand chronic traumatic encephalopathy for the damage that concussions do to the brain. NHLPA President Marty Walsh says the CTE committee was unanimously approved at a union board meeting this summer. Denver point guard Jamal Murray was placed into concussion protocol after a third-quarter collision with Minnesota's Julius Randle, and it forced him out of Denver's 119-116 loss. The Kitchener, Ontario native was cutting the lane with Anthony Edwards guarding him when Randle backed up and inadvertently banged his shoulder into Murray's nose. From the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.